part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
That sound means it's time for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, he's the NBA writer for hoopswire.com, assistant managing editor at outkick.com. He is our Cavs insider, national NBA writer, Sam Amico. Sam, it's good to talk to you, man. Cavs on the Break, man. We bring you episodes every single week, man.
We bring
doing
them
okay
every
with that?
week.
You doing okay with that?
I'm doing okay with that, except for the fact that you're no longer here every week. You're here every other week, which is a treat. But I love John as well. Obviously, this isn't a
John's big time now, so it might be me every week. I don't know what that looks like. John may just forget us all, Sam. He just might leave us in the dust.
Can't mess around with riffraff like us.
Yeah. Well, speaking of riffraff, hey, we have a special guest on the show tonight. The one and only Jeremy in Copley or Jeremy in Akron. Yeah, I forget because it's not
the world traveler. Listen, I am so pumped to be here. I think at this moment I'm a bigger Cavs fan than I am Browns fan. Okay, I'm ready. I am ready.
Wow.
I've been.
Well, you're on the right podcast.
I am ready. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, I want to start with a joke. Can I start with a joke?
Go.
All right. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
The Cavs.
The Cavs who?
Cavs who?
The Cavs are there, and they're here to cover the spread and beat you by 20.
That's right.
Come on.
Didn't they just set the record? I think it's they've covered the spread more games in a row than anybody since 2007. I think it is as at this moment, and they got to shot the record.
The Cavs are no joke. They're 8-2 in their last 10, winners of 5 straight. Their record is 18-12, fourth in the East. And if you look at the teams in the East, it looks like the Cavs shouldn't belong, but ladies and gentlemen, the Cavs belong. They're averaging 113 points in December, shooting 41.5% from the three, averaging 27 assists per game. Sam, the Cavs are not only back, they are legit. The Cavs are legit. Sam, let's just recognize, like, we're watching a team coming into their own that is playing sustainable basketball.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I kept waiting for them to kind of fall apart and then have a bad loss at home, like against the Sacramento or a Houston, or lose on the road. I was talking to one of my buddies last week when they were going to Minnesota, and I'm like, I understand if they go to Minnesota and lose that game. It's tough to win on the road. Minnesota's playing well. It'd be okay if they lost tonight. And they went in there and blew them out. And I was just like, this is not the way the NBA generally works with young cores like this. They generally will go play a game that they probably should win and lose it. And this team is just blowing those kind of opponents out of the water. I mean, the last, against the Rockets, that game was like 48 minutes of garbage time. I mean, they blew them out right away. So
they're demolishing teams. Yeah. They're really separating themselves from some of these teams. Some of these teams are good. Jeremy, if anyone follows you, you have to follow you on Facebook now. But you have talked about the Cavs for months, saying, hey, they had this incredible season ticket deal. You got to get on it.
Yeah.
You've been on the Cavs for a while. Did you ever expect them to be this good?
No, I didn't expect them to be this good. But what's funny? At the very beginning of the season, everybody was laughing about tall ball, right? Starting 3 7-footers, opposite of what most teams are doing. But I could tell right away they were giving teams problem with their length, because those guys are interchangeable. They can guard all 3 positions. Mobley, Markkanen, and Allen. And it looks different. Yeah, but it's working. I heard Eric Spoelstra say that it's the most impressive thing to him is how hard defense is in the NBA and how hard it is for a young team to play this good a defense, but they've got it. They figured it out. So credit goes to coach. I had 2 moments, Chase, where I knew they were for a one that Sam just hit on that Minnesota game. He's exactly right. That's a team with some exciting young players, some guys who can really play a tough place to play. And they went in there and they got up 20-4, right? They got up 20-4 right away. Then last week, a reporter asked Kyle Lowry if he was looking forward to their matchup with Philadelphia. And he's like, this is before the Cavs game. He's like, well, the Cavs just whooped us the other day, so I'm going to worry about that first. Well, guess what? The Cavs beat them. Then they went and beat Philadelphia. After that. So the Cavs are legit. The league is on notice. And I think that Coach Bickerstaff has said that multiple times that their goal is to get respect from the rest of the league. Well, they're about there because everybody knows, everybody's talking about it. And I think they're there. The league respects them now.
Yeah, I think at the start of the season, maybe the Cavs were benefiting from teams overlooking them.
Yeah,
but I don't think it took long because here's what you can't teach. You can teach proper defense. You can teach how to guard a high pick and roll. You can teach how to you can teach defense. You can't teach height. You can't teach someone to be 7'1". You cannot teach that. And the Cavs have found this incredible formula that kind of goes against the grain of what other teams are going at. Like they're tall, they're lengthy, they're incredible rim protectors, and they have a point guard who's coming into their own. I mean, I'm a little jealous. I wish I could play point guard with a bunch of 7-footers. I think that would be a ton of fun. I would throw a lot of lobs, and I mean, I'm not trying to diminish Garland's talent because I think hasn't really reached his potential yet. But I grew up playing basketball. When you have tall people, it makes your job easier on offense. And the Cavs just have this incredible, it's fun to watch. They believe in it, and they've gotten really important people to believe in it. Sam, how important has Kevin Love's role been just his first 10 weeks of the season, man?
I would venture to say he's having the best time he's ever had in Cleveland.
Looks like it.
I really would. He's really welcomed this role of coming off the bench. Mm-hmm. I think it takes so much pressure off of him. When LeBron James left, everybody expected, and Kyrie Irving was already gone. I think everybody expected, as the Cavs even did, Kevin Love was going to be the man, and he kind of was. He couldn't stay healthy. He wasn't doing well playing a lot of minutes. He didn't turn into what everybody had hoped and why the Cavs gave him that big contract extension. But now he doesn't have to be. It's okay if he comes out and has a game where he has 4 or 6 points, because he's coming off the bench and playing that role. And I just think it's really opened things up for him going against other teams' reserves and embracing the role and enjoying himself and having fun as this team wins games. And, to see the dynamic between him and Ricky Rubio, obviously they played together in their career earlier in Minnesota, and that counts for a lot. They have a very good chemistry between them. So I just think that Kevin Love has been one of the, look, we all wrote him off before this season because he had
was public enemy number 1 in Cleveland. I mean, he didn't do the Olympics. Like, it was just like one misfire after another. We talked about it.
He came to camp out of shape, basically, is what everybody was saying. And I know that I had written him off, and I know that a lot of fans were saying, get rid of the guy, trade him. Well, you can't trade him. Give Kobe Altman and JB Bickerstaff a ton of credit here for finding a way to fit him back in a place where it looked like he didn't belong anymore, didn't want to be, they didn't want him. And now he's become, again, a very critical part of what they're doing.
Jeremy, you've been to a handful of Cavs games. Be the body language doctor here. I mean, that seems like Kevin Love has different body language this season.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think it's infectious. I think the young players in that team have been infectious. I was at the Boston game where they're down 19, looked like they were done, and they came back and won. And that was the first. I think
is a big game for this team. I think that was a huge game.
And that day was the day they all started standing. Right? Remember that all the players stood in the corner of the court, and then they started doing that a lot afterwards. You could just see. I think that was kind of the night they were starting to gel. They were missing some players that game, and they still came back and won. It's been incredible to watch this young team gel with Kevin Love being the old head, being the guy who's kind of Jared Allen made the joke the other day that he tossed aside his cane and went out and scored 23. Like, that's just, he's that guy, and that team has that kind of relationship where they can make jokes like that. Another thing I think, Chase, it's been huge is Isaac Okoro over the last 10 days becoming a scorer.
Now you're talking dirty to me, man. Now this is dirty talk, which it's too late for that kind of stuff, Jeremy.
Early in the season, teams were, and Sam will, back this up, teams were leaving him alone in the corner. They were letting him, they wanted him to shoot that corner 3. They were doubling down off of him. I remember specifically the Utah game. Teams were just letting him shoot. He wasn't hitting. Now he's hitting it. He was 3 for 3 last night. He had the ridiculous dunk on 3 dudes. If he becomes the player it looks like he's becoming, then you don't have the hole you thought you had. And then you really are just looking for some depth if you do make a move, because then you got a two who can really defend and make some plays. With Darius Garland, the first person to recognize how good Darius Garland was going to be was who? Steph Curry, one of the people he's compared to. Steph Curry said over the summer in an interview, they asked him who he thought the best young upcoming point guard was in the league, and he said Darius Garland.
Yeah. And,
I went and looked at Steph's stats just because, there's been some comparisons of maybe Darius Garland's a poor man Steph Curry. Steph didn't really become Steph till year 4. Right, Darius Garland's in year 3. He's got that soft floating jumper like Steph has. He can hit. He's got almost unlimited range that's starting to show now. So I can see a Steph Curry, maybe even he's even got some of Kyrie's stop and start and the creative finishes around the rim. It's been really fun to watch him become a star. And with that backcourt, all of a sudden now you got 2 guys that are scoring and playing at such a high level. I mean, and that with our bigs, I mean, it's fun, man, and it's exciting. And I don't think it's a mirage. They're not going away. They're already 30 plus games into the season, 30 games into the season, and we're 18-12. I remember my buddy Michael Reagan would say, wait till the quarter point to make, then what you are. But we're past the quarter point and we're still winning. So
I'm going to clip that part out that Garland is better than Curry. I'm going to clip that out.
I didn't say he's better. I didn't say he's better. No. That's not what I said. I'm saying not better than him, but I'm saying Curry didn't become Curry till year 4. Garland's in year 3, and he's on track to be he's not nobody's Steph Curry look. Steph Curry is different, obviously. But I'm saying
now you're backtracking.
No, I never.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time.
If I said that he was better, I didn't mean to say he's better. But I'm saying at this point in their career, it's not as far off as you might have thought. So
yeah, Sam, one of the things that might get overlooked and everyone getting so excited, we're playing without our top scorer from the last, 2 or 3 seasons. Sexton has been out, and we've played some of our best ball with Colin Sexton out. Sam, what does that mean for him and the Cavs moving forward? I mean, you almost, forget that he's on the team.
Yeah, it's easy to forget. 2 things before we get into Colin. The interesting thing is that Steph Curry's dad, Dell, played for the Cavs, and Darius Garland's dad, Winston, played for the Warriors.
Hey,
so there's another kind of little comparison there.
Love it.
But and also, Jeremy, the other thing is, don't let him intimidate you. Tell you what you said. I just keep going. Just say whatever. But anyway, I as far as Colin Sexton goes, yeah, I mean, that is an interesting scenario. We've talked about this before, Chase. That the thing I liked about Sexton was early in the year, he did take that natural kind of step back and become more than just a volume scorer. He fit in.
Yeah.
He was fitting in. His points per game were down 8 points from last year, which normally you'd be like, he's struggling, but that's not what the case was. He had stepped back and really just decided and made it clear, I'm going to fit in here. This is working. The system, the style, everything's working. I don't need to score 24 a game, which is a lot for a guy to do who's entering restricted free agency. Now that becomes more interesting because obviously he's going to miss the season. He's coming off a knee injury, and now he's going to enter restricted free agency, which the possibilities there are endless. I suspect he will sign a 2-3 year deal with the Cavs and try again. But the fact that you forget he's even on the team because things are going so well.
I'm just going to ask the hard question here, Sam. Do you think we're playing better without him? Do you think we're seeing players improve and reach their full potential without him? I mean, at the end of the day, that's the question that we don't need to answer, but that the Cavs brass need to answer is, does this help Okoro better? Does this help Garland better? Does this help? And you just go down the line. Does this just fit better?
Those guys are improving individually, but I think it's their natural progression. I don't want to say that Sexton was holding them back.
No,
maybe he was. Maybe I don't know, but I don't think so. Because of the way he started this season, and the way the rest of the team started the season, they were winning games and playing well. So to me, it's like, yes, those guys are clearly making progress and maturing as basketball players, but I don't think that Sexton's absence is, that it's a result of that. I think they were going to do that anyway. And I think we saw Colin Sexton in those 8 games that he played this year also take strides and steps and improve in the areas that people kept saying, is he just a scorer? Is that all he can do? Well, the answer to that was no. He was fitting in other areas and contributing in other areas. So, yeah, I think those guys are making progress, but I don't think his absence it's a result of his absence.
I'll say this. I was surprised that all of a sudden he was having season-ending surgery that quick. I didn't know that his injury was as severe as it came out to be. And we think back to last year and how the Cavs handled some other injuries that were a little suspect. A part of me is wondering, were they encouraging, would this be something he'd be able to play through, or were they encouraging? I don't know. I never want to say anything, but it's just with how they handled so poorly things last year, it was a really quick shutdown. And I don't know.
He got 2 opinions. Somebody told him he kind of needs surgery. So I'm pretty sure he got a second opinion. So to me, they told him he probably needs surgery and he didn't want it.
All right.
And then he got somebody else check it out and they said, yeah, you need surgery. So I don't think the Cavs wanted to shut him down.
Chase, let me jump in here. Let me jump in on Sexton. I think the obvious role that people talk about is he could be the Vinny, the Microwave Johnson. Anytime we talk about an undersized guard who can score a lot off the bench, we would compare him to him, right? So if he embraces that role, I think that could be a big role. And I think he is going to be here. And here's why I think he's going to be here. The Cavs, and Sam can back this up, are not going to worry about money. And they're going to pay whatever it is they need to do to keep their guys. Because even as the Cavs get good, it's still going to be tough to lure people here via free agency in the NBA. It's just the reality of the situation. So I think the Cavs will see him as an asset, whether it's as a player or a trading chip. So I think Colin Sexton will be here no matter what the next few years for that reason. And it looks like Sam said, he's bought in. So if he sees how well they're playing, and if they think he can be an asset off the bench, a guy that comes in and scores 16 to 17 points off the bench, I think that would be big. And I think that he'll, from the looks of the beginning of the season, he'll accept that role, especially if he's already paid. If he's already paid, what's it matter? If the Cavs give him, 3 years, $50 million, whatever it comes to, he's paid. Here's your role. You're on a winning team. You're on a team that's building, a young team. I think he'll do it. But I think the Cavs will absolutely pay him because of that, because they're going to just keep collecting assets. And as Dan Gilbert's proved multiple times in the past, money will never be an object with this. They will pay. They will get to the line and do all that.
Cleveland's a desirable place. We got the Cavs on the Break Game Day podcast right here, man. Come on. Everyone loves.
What more reason do you need?
Yeah. Everyone loves Cavs on the Break. Sam, but before we take a quick break, with Sexton, I've been reading some of your stuff on Hoops Wire. I mean, I've been reading.
Makes you and my mother.
Some great work there, Sam. Talking a little about Cavs trade talk. Now, some names, you throwing around Caris LeVert for the Pacers and Ben Simmons as Sexton, a possible, kind of trade bait for some action there. Like, what's the latest you're hearing about Cavs trade news?
I think it's a long shot that they would actually make a deal. I mean, because you're playing so well with this core, and you don't want to mess with what's working. I could see them, trade. Let me start here. Trading Sexton would be for somebody like LeVert, who, very nice player, don't get me wrong, but you're kind of revamping everything you're doing if you get a guy like Caris LeVert, who is a guy who is a slasher, scores a lot of points. That's a big, splashy kind of move. Same thing with Ben Simmons. I think the Cavs have moved on from anything involving Ben Simmons. But, the reports we hear is that they're still kind of feeling around. But I really think that's just Kobe Altman doing what general managers everywhere do, and that's doing his due diligence, calling on Simmons, saying, what are you guys kind of looking at in terms of what you want for Ben? We're not interested now, but we may be interested. Say February comes around and we've got a better reason to trade for him. So what what kind of things would you be looking for? That's kind of, I think, what those conversations are. LeVert, I'm sure that the Cavs have placed a call to the Pacers because LeVert's available and said, what kind of things are you looking for there? And okay, we'll get back to you. We're not going to give you that. And I don't think that they're in any hurry or really feel the need right now to make any kind of big splashy move. They're just not going to do that. There's no reason to do it because you really, over the last 10 days, have played as well as, if not better than anybody in the conference. So there's no reason to do anything. Now, if you want to get a little bit better and you can see a pathway to doing that, you may sign a veteran free agent of some sort. If you feel like we need an older guy to come in and score off the bench, there are veteran free agents out there. We saw that the Bucks signed Wesley Matthews. Very low scale, no risk move. You're getting help in an area you need it.
The risk there is if he shoots an outside shot in the playoffs. That would be the risk signing Wesley Matthews. He could not hit the broadside of a barn last year, man.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and I've heard, like, for instance, the Cavs have not, as far as I know, called Orlando, but Terrence Ross is available.
Yep.
Now there's a guy who's 30 years old who can get you 12 to 14 points off the bench. He's a bigger shooting guard type. He isn't going to come in and disrupt things. He would just add to things. And people would say that about relationships or marriage. I just want somebody to add to what's already pretty good. My wife said that. She found me. No, I'm anyway. But that's the truth about Terrence Ross or somebody like that. And what the Cavs are looking for would be a player or person who would make a good situation a little bit better.
I've been a proponent of bringing in a player like Ben Simmons for about a year and a half. We did a whole Ben Simmons rumor episode about a year ago or so. But the way that they've played, the way that we've developed, and really Evan Mobley has, I think, changed that perspective for me. And it looks like maybe even the organization. I hope they don't make a big splash. I hope they don't bring in someone. I'm really glad the rumor was that Kevin Love and Sexton or Okoro for Russell Westbrook. Like that was just like, man,
Kevin Love and Rubio for Russell Westbrook is I don't know how that got out there. I put something on it on HoopsWire about it. But I think that LeBron is seeing what Kevin Love is doing, and he would love to have him over there with LA. And I think they really want to get rid of Westbrook. So that's probably how that all came about.
But I do think the way we've played and developed has kind of changed. Hopefully, at least my mindset. I want to hold, man. I want to grow. I want to see this thing through
for sure.
And I wouldn't mind if we do look to trade Sexton. I know that I just love what we have going right now, and I don't want to really kind of mess with what's going on. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. Jeremy, you going to stick around with us? All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Week 9, Week 10 slate, and then play one of our favorite segments, Overreaction or On Point. Stick with us. Cavs on the break. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Jeremy Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the Dog Pound coverage that you'll need each week to get you ready for kickoff and beyond.
Don't miss our breakdowns of each week's matchups, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we all know, Holly, dogs got to eat.
That's right, Jeremy. Hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
Looking for new insights on the Cleveland sports scene with a unique side of Cleveland sports history? Then you found the perfect podcast. I'm John Sable.
And I'm Scott Sable, and we're hosts of the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, a podcast about Cleveland sports, but not your typical podcast about the land's sports teams. Join us as we embark on a journey of sharing a unique and historical side of Cleveland sports history with the help of some former Cleveland sports stars and other historical figures.
All right here on the Sable Brothers on the Baseline podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
For the Dennis Maniloff Show, I'll tap into my 40-plus years of following Cleveland sports and 30-plus years of writing and talking about them, so as to bring you informed opinions and analysis of your favorite players and teams. I also will monitor the national sports scene and, when warranted, step out of the toy department and into the real world. And I'll always be on the lookout for special guests. By all means, join us.
The R&R podcast going to be rocking and rolling with you because football season is underway. College, Ohio State, the Power Fives, the MAC, the Browns. Michael Regai, are you ready to rock and roll with some football?
Kenny, I've been ready. This is our time of year. This is what R&R is all about. We're going to be with you every week. Kenny just said it. Browns, NFL, Ohio State centric. So you got to stay with us all fall and winter long here on R&R.
That's right. The Regai and Rhoda podcast coming to you here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Subscribe now and don't miss a show.
Hey everybody, I'm Gary. And I'm Jason. Opening cards as a kid, no matter what was in the pack, you always had that stick of chewing gum. Well, it turns out Gary and I opened up a box of 86 Tops last year, and let me tell you, the chewing gum does not age well.
Join us on the Ball Card Show,
the sports podcast for the sports collector.
Hey, it's Tito, host of the Premier Fantasy Podcast. Get all the news and analysis you need to dominate your fantasy league. I've been doing this as long as anybody in the business. I can help give you the edge in your leagues. It's the Premier Fantasy Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Listen, it is beyond time for you to join a book club. I know you've been thinking about it and everyone's doing it. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
Hey everyone, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. Back by popular demand, I'm excited to let you know that new episodes of the Hyman Podcast will drop every other Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're going to continue the conversations we started last season and keep having those hard conversations. There is so much in store for you this season, and I'm excited to share it with you. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single moment. The Hyman Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Don Mike Mendoza, the host of the Producing While Asian podcast. Join us to listen in on conversations with everyone who identify from producers to non-producers who all are part of the AAPI community. There's all that and more on the Producing While Asian podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.
All right, we are back. If I didn't bring us back from break, we'd just be talking about the Browns for the next 30 minutes. But this is CAVS on the break.
Let's go.
Talking about the surging, the constant, the winning Cleveland Cavaliers. And this is what we've done just here, the Week 9 slate, December 13th. We defeated the Heat 105-94. December 15th. So we're recording this late on a Thursday night, early Friday morning. So yesterday, sleep-wise, the Cavs, we beat the Rockets at the Rock 124-89. Really wasn't really close. And it's so interesting, these two teams in the lottery, how, I think the Rockets would be way better if they had Mobley. I think we'd be way worse if we had Green. But, that's just, hey, that's what's happened. And I'm so glad it is where we are. On Saturday, the 18th, we traveled to Milwaukee to really we have all of our full power, pretty much all of momentum, all the feel goods going into the champs to kind of see how we measure up. Another kind of measuring stick game for this young team. And then on Sunday, back-to-back road games, we go to Atlanta in the State Farm Arena to play a Hawks team who a little inconsistent, but still dangerous. Jeremy, what do you expect out of this Bucks and Hawks kind of like back-to-back road games here?
I think is Giannis still in the protocol? I think Giannis went in the protocol too.
Giannis is the Bucks have so many guys in the protocol. Giannis is the main one, obviously, and then they have Bobby Portis just went in the protocol tonight too. So those are two biggies.
Yeah, he's on my fantasy.
Yeah,
sorry.
Still, but we lost the court. Still, but it's still, you know what? It's still tough to win there. So if we go in there winning, it's still a statement game, whether Giannis is there or not. So it's still a big game. I expect the Cavs to win. To be honest with you, Mobley plays. If Mobley's back, which sounds like he will be. I think they win that game,
especially with the freak out. I didn't know. They also told me over break that Okoro's in the protocol. And so that's a huge blow to us. He's like our best player.
I'll tell you what though, man, he is, like we said, he's coming around, man. It'll definitely be a loss, but I think I was telling you over the break, it's not a horrible time for it because we don't have a ton of games. We just played 5 and 7 nights. So maybe he can get back after 10 days and be all right. And
look, I love Okoro. I
19 points a game over the last 4 games.
Yeah.
Shooting ridiculously well from those corner threes. And obviously last night getting aggressive and getting to the rim. Obviously his confidence is just.
Yeah. And that's a big thing with him. For a while there, he was just, I know Chase doesn't want to hear this, but for a while there, he was just kind of running around out there.
It looked like that.
He didn't seem to. I think he was still finding his fit, and that takes. You look at Darius Garland; it took him a little bit. I mean, that's okay. And now that he has, here's like you said earlier, Jeremy. This might be the solution to what they were missing at that spot with Sexton out.
Yeah. We have 4 games this week, and we've won both of them, but then we have 2 next week. On Wednesday, the 22nd, we travel to Boston, the 3rd game on a 3-game road trip. And then on Sunday, the 26th, so they get some time off next week, as did most of the league. We host the Raptors the day after Christmas at the Rock. I mean, I'm very optimistic. If you guys have been listening to me any of the past couple of years, you know that I tend to lean more towards the unrealistic optimism. That's how I live life. I believe the best in people. I believe the best in the Cleveland teams. But I mean, I think we're going to be winning a lot more games, Sam, over the rest of the season, which I think leads us to this incredible segment, the very best segment of all time, overreactions or on point. Here's how this works. I'm going to give you a statement. You tell me if it's an overreaction or on point. Sam, the Cavs will win 60 games this season. Overreaction or on point?
Overreaction. They're not going to win 6. They might. I put them in the 46 to 52 range, which to me is last year they won 22 games. Okay. So that's a huge, huge leap. But if
Mobley,
there's no reason to think that this team can't keep doing what it's doing. They're going to hit a hiccup at some point. Everybody in the NBA does. But I don't think it's going to be something that they can't overcome. And I think a lot of that is because of their culture. They have a lot of talent. As Jeremy said, they have a ton of length, which is really throwing everybody else that they play into a tizzy. They can't deal with the Cavs' length. And their bench has been playing so well. I think it's an overreaction, but I think it's I think you're, about 10 games off.
Yeah, I would feel comfortable in 50s. Jay, you think 50s is attainable?
Here's 2 reasons I think 50s can't. Well, let me qualify it. If Garland can stay healthy, I think Garland's the key. I think you'll have Allen and those guys missing a few games here or there. But if Garland can stay healthy, he's the stir that's. He's the he stirs. Come on, gosh darn it! I dropped
the straw that stirs the drink.
Straw that
I say that about Chase all the time. That's why I know it.
He's the straw that stirs the drink. If Garland can stay healthy, I think they do win 50 games because you know what? Half of it is getting to the second half of the season in contention because you're gonna have a lot of teams quit. Come second half of the season, a lot of guys, gone fishing. Remember the Charles Barkley thing? They're ready to get out. They're ready to get out of it.
Yeah,
they're packing their bags and getting ready for vacation. So half the battle is getting through the halfway point in contention, right? So then you'll have some teams quitting. So I think that those 2 things. I think if they stay in contention, which they obviously are, they have the players to do it. And if Darius Garland stays healthy, I think they win 52 games.
All right. So you guys will say that's an overreaction, 60 game wins. That probably is a little a little exaggerated, but I'm not going to say too much. So if you're saying we're going to be in the 40, 50s, overreaction or on point, the Cavs will host a home playoff game. What?
You mean have the home court advantage in the first round?
We're going to host we're going to host a playoff game at home. Yeah. Overreaction or on point.
Well,
you guys are speechless. You're afraid to say
well,
it.
we're going to think listen, I think what you mean, Chase, is that we're going to have home court advantage for a round, which means we'd have to be in the top 4 seeds, right?
Yeah. What's did I say it wrong? Host a home playoff?
Well, they're going to host a playoff game if they make it.
Okay. I see. So overreaction. We're going to host. We're going to have home court advantage for a series in the playoffs.
If they win their first round series and somebody gets upset, yeah, then no. I don't think that's an overreaction. They're in the top 4 right now. They're playing so well that I'm done, frankly, right now at this time of this recording of this podcast. I'm done counting them out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done.
This is why I love this segment, because it forces Sam to make ridiculous claims that he doesn't want to make.
I don't think it's so ridiculous when you compare them to the rest of the Eastern Conference. All we can go by are the first 30 games.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, I'm right there with you. I think we're definitely going to host a home series.
That's a shock.
Yeah. Jeremy's staring off. Jeremy's got that 1,000-yard stare. Like I agree to get on this podcast, and Chase is insane.
I think we're going to finish in the top 4. And I think that would have been crazy to say even maybe just 3 weeks ago. And, because really right now at this time, 5-6 years ago, it wouldn't have been as crazy because the East wasn't as deep. The East is deep now. Teams that are in the Hawks and the Knicks aren't even in the top 8 right now. Right.
Yep.
Teams that were, in serious contention last year aren't even in the playoffs. The East is the deeper of the 2 conferences currently. So if the Cavs do get in the top 4, it's a big deal. And I think they're going to. I think they're playing a brand of basketball that's confident. If they stay healthy, look out.
Yeah. All right. So overreaction or on point, the Cavs will have 2 all-stars in Darius Garland and Jarrett Allen.
I'm going to say, boy, I'd really have to look at the rosters, but I think that could be on point. One, Cleveland's hosting the game. If you continue to play as well as you're playing right now, those 2 guys will be all-stars. I don't think there's any question about it.
Jeremy was nodding as I was asking the question. Jeremy's all on board this one, I can tell.
I agree. No, I do think so. And I think Sam hit it on the head. It's in Cleveland. If the host city is in the top 4, and especially the story that we have going now, the team, they're starting to pay attention to us a little bit too nationally. Yeah, they're going to get 2 guys in there. It's going to be Garland. It's going to be Allen. And then you'll see Mobley all over the festivities, I'm sure, and the rookie games and whatnot. And you'll probably see Darius Garland's in the skill competition. So the Cavs will be all over it here. And if they keep up the pace they're on now.
I need to apologize to Evan Mobley. This is the least amount of time I've talked about him on a podcast this season, and I feel bad. So let's rectify that. Mobley, overreaction or on point, will win Rookie of the Year.
On point. I don't. Who's even second right now? I mean, all anybody knows is Evan Mobley. Scotty Barnes in Toronto has been playing well, but you compare the Cavs season and the difference. I mean, the Raptors are slightly better than they were last year, and you could probably chalk that up to the fact that they're getting to play in Toronto this year as opposed to Tampa that they had to play in last year. So I just think that you talk about what rookie has made the biggest impact on a team that has improved the most. And then you just do the simple eye test. I mean, the guy really doesn't make the wrong play. He's always making the right play. He may not score a ton every game, but he's contributing and making so many winning plays every game, regardless of the stats. And his stats are pretty good, but regardless of that.
The last time I hosted, we had a whole segment centered around Evan Mobley where we asked, would he be the best player on the court? And we went through every team in the East. Are you as high on Mobley as I am?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like Sam said, as college coach said that he was the most unselfish superstar he'd ever coached. Right. And you can see that manifesting itself right now. It looks like he'll do whatever needs to be done to win. And he's already what do you think, Sam? Maybe the third or fourth best rim protector in the league right now.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. So, and Coach Bickerstaff said the other day, it's a gift to be able to block shots and body people up like that, not foul. And he never gets into foul trouble. And, it's just a rare thing for a young rim protector not to get into foul trouble. He never gets into foul trouble. Is he fouled? I don't think he's fouled out of a game. I don't think he's gotten into 5 fouls. So it's with that, and he's starting to develop, in season, his outside shot has already started to develop and get better. And if he starts hitting that, look out. His ball handling may be at times suspect, and he's never going to handle the ball, but I just been getting to the rim and stuff. That's going to improve. He really is a cross between Chris Bosh and Kevin Garnett. That's what I said from the time I saw him. Now I hear national guys kind of saying the same thing. Maybe Garnett's
defense. They're taking your bit. All these national guys.
We are national guys. We're national.
Yeah, no, but when I initially said it, I'd be like, I don't know. But now I've heard a lot of people say similar things. So yeah, he's the hype is real. He's probably outperformed any hype that. He's outperformed any realistic expectation that could have been set.
The expediency he's done it with. Like, I think he had a lot of high expectations, but to see someone play as ready as he can and as with it and not feel overmatched, I think that I didn't expect it that quick. I found that this segment, overreactions or on point, is way easier when the team's awful, because it's easy to come up with overreactions. When they're good, I'm like, well, geez, I can't
I have one for Jeremy.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Overreaction or on point. Chase will have his blonde Eminem style haircut for the rest of his life.
Well, Sam, it's funny, when he first grew his goatee, he looked like Jim Rome. So right now he
did.
I've never had a goatee. It's a beard.
He's half Eminem, he's half Jim Rome. So I don't know. I'm actually, the more I look at it here, the more I'm kind of digging the blonde hair, Chase.
I know. I like it. I like it.
They look good.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I think it's on point, Sam. I think that I think that Chase will keep that style for the rest of it.
Well, hey, Leslie loves it, so that's a start. My mom does not like it, but
who doesn't like it?
My mom. She's not a fan.
She'll cover
but
up.
Leslie is the biggest fan, and so that matters a lot in my book. Hey, here's one overreaction or on point. Kevin Love will win 6th Man of the Year.
Probably an overreaction, but I'll tell you what, man, it's so impressive. And I know Sam touched on it earlier. Just so impressive. He's accepted that role. He's the first one off the bench to congratulate guys. He's obviously having the time of his life with this young group. So will he win it? Probably not. Hey, maybe comeback player of the year, right? That's probably a possibility there if he keeps playing, but no doubt. Right now you'd have to say he's in contention for that award, though.
Yep. Sam, here's one for you. Isaac Okoro will win Most Improved Player. Overreaction or on point?
Overreaction, but I think that
that hurt how quick that was. It's okay.
Well, I think
Garland really might, if he continues his
Darius Garland. I was going to say Darius Garland, and I think the thing for Okoro is you don't have to give him 19 points every night, but just be the threat of somebody who can give you 19 points every night, and that will help them immensely. And whether he gets the national accolades to go with that, it's tough to get in Cleveland. But I think that he's on the right track. That's for sure.
Look, you can't have a team make this drastic of a turnaround and not have some players be recognized for that. And conversely, you can't have some executives or coaches be recognized for that. So which of these is the most on point? Will we have the coach of the year, or will we have the exec of the year in Altman? Which of those is on point? Will we have both? I don't know if it's ever happened.
I think just 100%, if they keep on this track, I think Bernie Bickerstaff will be the coach of the year, because, Cleveland has been seen as a wasteland since LeBron left. Can't win here without LeBron. And for Coach Bickerstaff to just do what he's done so far, I think he's probably the favorite right now. Executive of the year, I don't know. I mean, drafting Evan Mobley. When they brought
the Rubio signing has been
Rubio is huge. The Rubio trade, the Rubio trade's huge. Taking on that $17.5 million, that was that's a lot of money. You think for a guy who a lot of people thought was washed, and he's been fantastic. The marketing thing, people laughed at it. I heard even on local radio, like, you're giving this guy $45 million.
No, I loved it.
It's also been a good move. So yeah, I think there's a case to be made for both of them. But I think Coach Bickerstaff has got to be the favorite at this point.
Sam.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a strong case to be made for both of them. I would lean, if you're only going to be able to get one of them, that it would be JB Bickerstaff. For the thing that's impressed me the most about the Cavs, even aside from the blowout wins, is the way that when they had all those injuries and Mobley was out with a sprained elbow and they had some guys in the protocol and they were missing Chetty for a few games there, that they were still giving teams runs. And I think that might go back to what Jeremy was saying, that, yeah, they had Darius Garland, and that's really, kind of the guy that they needed. But a lot of that has been the system and the way that the players have embraced the coach and his personality. I just think, I right now, frankly, I can't think of anybody else. Granted, it's early, other than maybe Wes Unseld Jr. or Billy Donovan might be in the conversation. But to me, JB Bickerstaff has made the Cavs the best story of the season, early season so far. And Kobe Altman. I mean, to me, again, you're talking about the best story of the early season. What other exec could you think of has really made the kind of moves that he's made, low profile, ended up getting Mobley in the draft? It's hard to argue and find somebody else right now who you could say, they deserve it more than Kobe Altman.
Well, that does it for the very greatest, best segment of all time, Overreactions are on point, and that is not an exaggeration. Hey, there's no better. This is an incredible time to be a Cavs fan. It really is. It's a lot of fun, a lot of young players who are making their mark on the league, and they're kind of putting the league on notice. Jay, thanks for hopping on the show with us tonight, brother.
Hey, Chase, you know how you know that Darius Garland has made it? I saw an article the other day. Will Darius Garland vote for L.A.?
Oh, my gosh.
That's how you know he's made it.
That's how you know he made it. When then they start putting Cavs players in L.A., you know they've made it.
Yeah. Right. Well, that does it for this episode of Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Thank you all so much for downloading and listening. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. We always follow back. Follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Catch all of his work and writings at hoopswire.com, hoopswire.com. Check it out. And outkick.com for breaking news, insider info, and more. Do not miss out. Sam, any final thoughts?
That's it. Just was happy to have Jeremy with us tonight, and it's just been a great, fun season. Hope they keep it going.
Yeah, Jay, it's nice to record a podcast with you again, buddy.
Man, that was a blast, dude. I love it. Anytime you want to have me on, man, shoot me.
Man, we went from recording 2 episodes a week together to just chatting on a group chat, and this is I think number 3 since August. So I miss you, man. Sam, it's always good seeing you every other week. I miss you too.
I was going to say, left out here, third wheel.
No. But no, you guys are great. This is the second or third time we've done this. I think they always go well. They always go well. Jay, do you know how we close out the Cavs on the Break shows?
No, go. Let me hear it.
Well, I'm asking. I would love for you. We always toss it to Mike Breen, and he gives us the wait is finally over. The Cavs are the NBA champions. But we always say Mike Breen, take us out. But we always do it in a really ridiculous way. You want to throw it to Mike Breen?
Mike Breen, take us out.
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.